What's going on, guys? VZ Duels here, back at it again with another deck profile, and this one is a first place for my local World Championship celebration, where they were prizing out this envelope with a special rarity of Doom Caliber Knight and Swords of Revealing Light. But yeah, today I went in with Snake Eye Fire King, which I know everybody's sick and tired of hearing that name. However, one thing special about my build is that it does not run any Fiendsmith at all. A lot of people have migrated over to Fiendsmith due to the fact that it's very versatile. The banning of the Lacrima is such an unexpected hit, and I'm glad that they did it, because that engine was absolutely ridiculous, and it was very difficult to keep up with. But in the current state, with Fiendsmith nerfed up and Snake Eye nerfed up, I've again just noticed a lot of people don't really run without Fiendsmith anymore. So today I'm bringing you guys a deck profile of something where you don't have to spend $300 to play. So we'll go ahead and get started with the main deck, and we get started with the engine first. So the first part of the engine, of course, is the never-changing trio of Ash, Poplar, Oak. These two got cut down to one. That's not a problem at all. The deck is still unbelievably consistent. There's just different ways that you have to play around, and you have to be more careful in protecting these cards getting banished. But that being said, this ultimately just had to change in terms of counts, but you always run these three. You always run the Flamberge, and because the Poplar got hit, Birch is the must-have to play right now, just due to the fact that Poplar always served as a free extension. Birch was pretty much the Poplar before Poplar, and now it's going to serve that purpose for the exact same reason. While it doesn't grab you a Snake Eye Spell Trap the way that Poplar does, the fact you could just special summon out of hand without activating anything or whatnot, and being able to special summon something on your opponent's turn is in of itself pretty good. So this card did come up really nicely in this tournament as a secondary search target for Ash or Bonfire. But for Snake Eye monsters, that's it. I only run the 1D Bellstar that I've always had. As much as I thought I was going to need the additional 2 after the list got dropped, after playing today, I confidently can say that deck's perfectly fine with just the 1. Of course, it's supported by more consistency, which, of course, is 3 wanted. No surprise. But, I don't know. It worked perfectly fine for me. So, going into the Fire Kings, Ponix, Garunix, Arvada, and 2 Kirin. I always wanted to go back to 3 Kirin, but the 2 works perfectly fine. You don't want to see too many in hand. It's a great extender, an extra body, but Birch basically does the same thing, but a little bit better. I wouldn't change this ratio. As much, like I said, I like to put this at 3, but optimally it's just perfectly fine at that. So that's it for monsters. Engine spells, the 3 wanted. That's consistency for the Bellstar. You have basically 4 copies of the Bell out of this. 3 Bonfire, because consistency. Again, I used to usually use Bonfire to search out the Poplar, and then Poplar to grab the original. And I still do that, depending on the hand. If I can go without normal summoning, that would be the hand. But I did start seeing myself doing what people usually do, where you Bonfire for Snake Eye Ash and then normal summon the Snake Eye Ash. I always found it safer to just do this into Poplar. That way, if they droll you, then you at least have the extender successfully out on the board. The rest of the spells, Original and Temple. I always think about cutting this card. No, that's not a good call at all. This is your fodder for the Bell. That's your fodder for your Snake Eyes. It's a way to get Oak to be a live target for Flamberge. So this is a must-have. Great, just double extender for you for your double fodder. But I wouldn't cut this. This is a must. I was worried with people speculating they would ban this card. If they did, that would really kill this variant. But the fact they kept it, thankfully, I'm glad about that. And then Fire King, naturally, you have to run Sanctuary and Island. As I always say for this, if you don't see the Poplar and you see one of these, try to use 2 materials to go into, and I'll spoil this too, the Dual Little Chimera, because that'll be just as effective. You destroy the Dual Little Chimera, you'll have fodder, so that way you can essentially go into a princess just off of that. More consistency, since we're not doing the bell, 1-for-1. People are definitely starting to play this now, just for overall consistency. Of course, it's a cost to send a monster out of hand, so it is situational, but it still is a great extender and a good way to bait out. Or get a, I shouldn't say bait out. This isn't really going to be an entry play. This is to get around ashes and interruptions to continue on through your combos. I do play 1 Prosperity. Again, it's a consistency call. And as you see later, there are going to be targets that are good for Prosperity that just make that search extra lot worth it. But it has really, I mean, it's only at 1, so barely came up, but it's helpful. Now into Handtraps, triple Ash Blossom. It's a fire, so it's a good target for your Kieran stuff. I do double Veiler. I do double Nibiru. I do double Droll. And the reason for these ratios is partly because of this. Triple Crossout Designator in the main. My theory for this, people usually run one of for Crossout Designators, and what I say to that is, I can't tell you how many times I will have the 1 copy in my hand, making that Crossout Designator completely dead. So having 2 of everything is a much safer bet. And plus, people underestimate the power of Droll Unlock this format. It really hinders your opponent's ability to establish hand advantage. So it's still good. Nibiru is, of course, amazing, especially now that Apollousa is gone. This card can get through flawlessly, unless you're main decking crossouts, which a lot of people aren't. They're usually just side decking it, and then that's hoping that they see it. Continuing on to Droplet, just to get through those unbreakable boards. Chain to the Desiree so that you don't get negated. Just stop anything that's troublesome. And then Imperms, so that's why I keep the Ash to 2. I was opting to do the 1, but like I said, for the sake of Crossout Designator, is that the double Veiler is, I feel, mandatory, and this ratio of Handtraps worked out flawlessly for me today, so I'm not going to complain about that. Extra deck. 1 Anima, that's it for our Link 1s. I still do play this, just because, again, I see everybody playing Fiendsmith, so I'm keeping an eye out for what they're cutting, and this is one of the cards for my variant. Since I have that extra space that I don't need to reserve for Fiendsmith cards, I figure I'll just keep this in. It's still a very powerful card, and I think the fact that people are starting to remove this from their decks is starting to make people feel a little too safe about their zone placements, or a little bit more negligent. But either which way, this card is still a necessity, in my opinion. If you have the room, play it. If not, oh well. Then, yeah, you could technically go without it. 2s, IP, SP, Nightmare Phoenix, the Charmers, and Doolittle, and Sunlight Wolf. Pretty standard. Again, this is another one that I opt to keep just in case I face up against the mirror. Very good to special summon back out of the Bellstar and just go crazy. IP's, of course, always good. SP's good. This, I barely ever use it, but it's a good way to protect your monsters through battle. Use this Fire Charmer the most, so that's definitely why this one gets cut. But there are instances, like in my round 5, where I did end up having to use that to at least get a princess live. These 2 cards are crucial for Fire King. Um, they help you with recursion, and they let you keep recycling your Kieran and endlessly be able to keep popping cards from your opponent, as well as to keep your Arvada alive as well. This card is just way too good. Sunlight Wolf, the exact same thing. If you can't pop this, you will special summon under this column and just go crazy. So this is definitely a must for Fire King variants. And yeah, I wouldn't advise against it at all. It's definitely good when you are at 3 bodies going into a princess, and you can use the princess to get out of Arvada. Then you just link off the princess and the Flamberge on field. Go into Sunlight Wolf, Flamberge effect, bring out 2. Sunlight Wolf will add back your Kieran, or I sometimes do Flamberge. It's a great card to pop off of Arvada, just as a point of reference for that. This isn't going to be a combo video, so I'm not going to really show my combos. This is just a deck profile. But if you guys want a combo tutorial or an explanation of how I play my deck and the lines I do, make sure to comment. If I get enough people that are interested, I'll take some time and kind of lay them out for you guys. Anyways, continuing extra deck. 2 princess. As much as I'd like to do 1, there's just so many times where the second one comes up. I personally have no gripe with running a second one. I already have enough extra deck space as I need. Again, Fiendsmith has really shown what was necessary and what wasn't necessary, so that kind of really helped guide me onto what is and isn't crucial for the deck. And with that said, there's easily room to put a princess. I played Nightmare Unicorn. This was it never showed up. It's mostly going to be a Prosperity Banish, but this would be to either serve as a second SP, or this one would bounce back my island so that way they can't just Cosmic Cyclone it and get a free board wipe out of it. It never came up, but it was a good option. Just like this next Link 4, Griffin, never came up. The one time it would have, I don't know what happened to me. I peed on my opponent's turn and went into the World Zealantis for some reason. I think I could have potentially had game had I done that, but I didn't do it. So I just completely screwed myself over. But this ideally is good for matchups like Branded and stuff, and if you can get this in this zone right here, then you're pretty much good on preventing your opponent from doing anything. It'll force them to have to make awkward plays in order to get their effects going. Like I showed you, World Zealantis, it's still a broken card. And then Amphibious Swarmship Ambler Whale. I see people are starting to put this in, even in the Fiendsmith builds. I personally don't see why people are starting to transition away from it for this, but it's cool. I say that this one is the better, safer card for the sake of control. The Flamberge, or the Raging Phoenix, I'm sorry. Raging Phoenix is so good for OTKs. So that's 14. And the last card that has come in clutch for me today is the Fucho. This card is your way to play completely through Shifter and not even care. Because all you do is normal summon Ash. Ash search Poplar. Poplar will search your follow-up, which is the original. You just go into this, make your opponent waste their turn. If you're going against Tenpai, if you're going against Kashtira, any deck that shifters. My round 5 was when I got shifted games 1 and 3 against a 60-card deck, mind you. I knew it was going to happen. That's how luck always works. But funny enough is I get shifted games 1 and 3 in that match, and I won both of those games and lost game 2 where I didn't get shifted, which is hilarious. But yeah, no, Fucho is such a good clutch card. I wanted to remove it, but I'm glad I didn't. It really clutched up for me this event. That's it for main deck. Side deck now, we've got 2 Bestials, just 2, Magnemite, Druisworm. Magnemite to search out Druis, and then Druis to be the removal. This is kind of generic, all-purpose. Branded still has their Sanctifier still, which is stupid. Um, Gimmick Puppet is unaffected on the field, so might as well hit something out of their grave. Fiendsmith exists, so hit those. Yeah, it's a good card overall. I didn't see it though today, which it's whatever. The third copies of Nib and Droll, depending on your matchups, these two can come in. Nibiru's been the MVP for me today. Can't tell you how many times I just destroy Snake Eyes now, or Fiendsmith now, because they'll go through all their summons, and then guess what? They can't really extend past anything anymore. They don't have Apollousa anymore, so they don't have that protection anymore. Nibiru is such a good card to play. It's insane. Droll, in those other cases where searching is key, my round 4, which was Rescue-Ace, I had both of these in game 1, and just together, he couldn't do anything, and it let me take game 1 from him. But yeah, this is side in depending on the deck, because you never know if you're gonna run the flu. You never know if you're gonna run into like something that doesn't really benefit off of searching or can play around searching, like Snake Eye. So that's why I have these in the sideboard. 2DD Crow to do what Druid Swarm and Magnemite can't do, and what they can do as well. This is mainly for fire and any deck, really. I mean, Sky Striker, whatever. Pretty good card. Never saw it, though. So that's it for monsters. Spells, we did 1 Change of Heart, 1 Talent, 1 Call By, and 2 Dark Hole. This was okay. This is usually depending on the matchup, so if I need to banish cards to stop stuff, then this will go in, going second. So this is kind of like, depends on the deck sort of thing. If you're going to be going through a monster heavy board, you want to run this. If you're going through a hand trap heavy board or something like that to that nature, you want this. Branded, get rid of the Gimmick Puppet. But yeah, these ones have just been interchangeable. I just don't personally like them in the main deck because it's, again, situational versus something like Crossout Designator. You can call Imperm, you can call Nibiru. These can't stop it, and by the time that you get Nibiru, this kind of doesn't really do much. You'll see your opponent's hand maybe, but I don't know. It never really came up. There was only one time that it came up, was when I was going against Tenpai in round 1, and he was down to basically getting a successful draw off of this, and because I sided this in, since he lets me go first, I didn't see it, but my Crossout Designator called it, and he couldn't do anything, so it's a good crossout target too. But Dark Holes, didn't really get to use them, but this is meant to just, of course, clear the U-Bell board and stuff. But funny enough, I did use it in one scenario where I had all of my level 1 monsters in hand, and ultimately what I had to do was Dark Hole to special summon the Ponyx out of hand, just so that way I didn't have to waste my original and do all that stuff yet. So that was actually kind of a crazy way to play it, but this is just to clear boards and stuff. This was almost a way for me to break through the Rescue-Ace game 2, but I didn't have a monster to normal summon and just go off with, so ultimately this card did nothing, but it was good for the moment, and I do recommend it. Traps, too evenly, we're on board breakers. Let's just banish everything, let them set their board up, take away everything afterwards. They can't recur anything. And then the final 2, TCG. My deck is a multitude of types, so I don't care I don't care what this restriction is. I can generally play around it. The Snake Eyes are all Pyros. Flambers is Dragon. The Bell is Spellcaster. Each of the Fire Kings are different types. The only ones that match together are Garunix and Ponix. So this card's insane for the Fire King variant, and I recommend it for the sake of like U-Bell or Gimmick Puppet, Tenpai, any deck like that. And then the last one was a clutch one against my Rescue-Ace matchup with Skill Drain. I only had my Fire King lines game 1, or turn 1, and that got stopped. I had this and an Imperm, and that's all I had. And this thing carried me to the win. And because of how Fire King is, I pretty much just waited for the right moment, used Kieran to pop Garunix as it activated its effect, so that way I popped the Kieran, and the Kieran would then resolve, special summon something, and pop. And that's when I used it to pop this, and my opponent couldn't do anything. By that time, he committed too much to board, and that was it. So this card was incredible, even though it's a one-of. When you run it with other floodgates like this, it's very powerful. Or if you're just really trying to close out game, this thing's just still incredible to see. And if you're running Prosperity, you kind of increase your chances of seeing it. But anyways, guys, that's it. Sorry this was a lengthy video. I like to, of course, explain things. So this was an in-depth deck profile. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. A nice little bit of a break from seeing the typical decks now being played. Like I said, if you're on a budget, everything for Fire King is cheap right now. Wantage are like 20, 30. The Bell is starting to go back down out of 30. We're getting those reprints soon. So this is definitely an option to play without needing to play the Fiendsmith engine. Fiendsmith is great, but especially now that they hit Lacrima and got rid of it completely, it really hindered the engine to where I see that the playing field is so much more even now. And decks like this variant can keep up as is with very minimal changes. But anyways, guys, this is VZ Duelist signing off. Thanks for watching. Again, if you guys want to see some like combo lines or something, let me know in the comments, and then I could go ahead and drum that up for you guys. But otherwise, I mean, it's generally straightforward, but I feel like I play the deck a little bit differently and a little bit safer than other people do. A lot of people seem to play in the nib a bit too much. But like I said, if you guys are interested, just let me know. Anyways, guys, this is VC Duelist signing out. Have a good one, guys.